Hi everybody, this is Alan Ellman, the Blue Collar Investor. In this video we're going to discuss with you the enhanced version of our premium stock report, which we refer to as the weekly stock screen and watch list. Now, this report is divided into two sections. The first 2 to 3 pages we refer to as the weekly stock screen, and that basically goes through the BCI methodology of selecting the greatest covered call candidates. The second part of the report, or the last 2 to 3 pages, as you see on the right part of the screen, is our watch list, or we refer to it as the running list because it's constantly being updated. So what we're going to do today is we're going to zero in on both sections of this report, and we're going to show you all the information we provide to our members. I have to tell you, we're so proud of this tool, and we hope that many of you benefit from it. So let's go to the weekly stock screen, the first part of the report. And let's first zero in on the blue columns in the middle, which basically goes through the whole screening process. On the left side you see the column for the symbol, which is basically the ticker symbol of the stock in question. Next to that we actually have the company name, and the third column, the weekly rank or other source. Now what that means is we look at the IBD 50 as our main source for stock selection. But the Blue Collar Investor also has a database of well over 2,000 stocks that over the years we have selected as covered call candidates. We screen this database of over 2,000 stocks for you every single week, along with the stocks located in the IBD 50. So where you see a stock that has a ranking of, let's say, 16 in this column, CVLT on the bottom, that means that week it ranks 16 on the IBD 50. Where you see the word other, that means it came from the BCI database of over 2,000 stocks, but was not on the IBD 50 that particular week. The next column gives you the most a recent price for that particular equity, and then the column after that lets you know whether options are available. Obviously, if no options are available, we can't consider it for covered call writing. The following column reports same-store sales, yes or no. We ban any stock that reports monthly, and let's highlight the word monthly, same-store retail sales, because that serves the same as an earnings report and creates a monthly risk. So we have a list of banned stocks. We're looking for an N in that column to continue the screening process. The next column is fundamental and technical screens, whether it passes. And that relates to the IBD Smart Select screening process, and we look for 6 green circles. So a Y means that it has passed all 6 green, or is at the top, the cream of the crop, relating to both fundamental and technical screens. The next column, average trading volume, we require all stocks that we're going to consider to trade a minimum of 250,000 shares per day. And so if you see a Y, that means that that stock does. The following column is the risk reward or scouter rating, and we require a scouter rating of 5 or higher. And so if you see a Y in that column, that means that it does meet that particular criteria. Now the next 2 columns, the chart, price, and technical indicators, related of course to technical analysis. For the chart price, we like to see an uptrending 20-day exponential moving average, which is higher than the longer-term 100-day exponential moving average. And where you see a Y, that means it meets those criteria. Technical indicators relate to the MACD histogram and the stochastic oscillator. And if they're both bullish, then it'll have a Y in that column. And finally, the earnings report. And if there's an earnings report that particular month, it won't be eligible until the earnings report passes. So we're looking for an N in that column to indicate no earnings report in that month. So that gives you the first part of the weekly stock screen. You can see there's quite a bit of information here. And basically the stock screen is divided into 4 major categories. The one you just looked at, where the stocks passed all the screens. Then the stocks that have passed all the screens but have an earnings report in the current month. And then you have two more categories for those that have inconclusive or mixed data, and one with no earnings report and one with an earnings report. So let's take a look at the stock screen, and you'll see the red circle on the top are those stocks that have passed all the screens, and then on the bottom circle in red, they're stocks that have passed all the screens except they have an earnings report in the current month. So those are okay for the watch list, but we can't buy them for covered call writing until after the earnings report passes. And the other two categories with inconclusive or mixed data, you will see circled in red on the top those with no earnings report in the current month, and on the bottom those with an earnings report in the current month. You will also see on the right hand side that we give you some commentary relating to why there is mixed data. For example, highlighted in yellow in the right hand column, it shows that for the stock HANS that the price was just at but not above the 20-day exponential moving average. So it'll give you that kind of technical information. And highlighted for you in green below that, it shows you that the MACD was slightly bearish, whereas the stochastic oscillator was bullish, so the confirming indicators were mixed, even though that particular stock may have passed all of our other screens. So it lets you know that it is a great performer, it is a great candidate for covered call writing, but not quite as strong as the ones that have passed all the screens with confirming technicals also. Now, below that you will see stocks from the IBD 50 or the BCI database of over 2,000 stocks that failed that particular week, although it had passed previously. And there'll also be commentary. So here you have on the top, circled in red, stocks that have failed one or more screens. Now, if you look at the middle of the page, circled in green, you'll see a bunch of N's in red there, and those are equities that failed at the risk-reward scouter. Remember, we want a 5 or better, and those failed. And if you look to the right-hand column, you'll see a commentary, risk-reward 4, 3, and so on. So it lets you know why it failed that particular screen. To the right bottom, you'll see circled in blue, the chart pattern is circled with some N's in red below in the lower part of that blue circle. And to the right, you'll see that what happened with these equities was that the 100-day exponential moving average was actually above the 20-day exponential moving average, which is showing some bearish momentum. So now let's move on to the watch or running list, as we like to call it. And once again, we call it a running list because these stocks are constantly being rescreened with updated information. And you can see from the screen in front of you that it's divided into two parts. On the left-hand side, we show columns for the individual weeks, or which stocks made our running list that particular week. To the right, you see the actual running list, or as I call it, the meat and potatoes of the premium report, with a lot of additional information, which I'm going to get into in a moment. Let's first take a look at the left part of this page, which are columns showing the individual weeks. And we start to the left with the stocks from the previous contract month, and we dated the last trading day of that week. So it normally is a Friday, unless Friday's a holiday, then it would be the Thursday. You'll notice also that the stocks in each week are alphabetized, so you'll have easy access if you want to determine whether a particular equity was on our running list that particular week. Now, you may notice also that certain stocks are in bold, like I've highlighted in green here. That means that those stocks not only are on our running list, but they have passed all of the screens for that particular week. So those are the strongest stocks. The ones I've highlighted in yellow are the ones that have either inconclusive or mixed technical data. Still great candidates, but not quite as strong at that moment in time as the ones that were highlighted in bold. Next, let's move over to our running list. Now, the running list has a ton of information, so I want to go through this carefully with you. On the left-hand side, you see the stocks or the ticker symbols for those stocks that are listed on our running list. Now, the column to the right of those stocks is the next earnings report date. Remember, we don't want to use a stock for covered call writing if there's an earnings report in that contract cycle. Now, we have highlighted for you in gold the stocks that are reporting that month, the month that you're looking at the latest earnings report. So it'll stand out. There'll be no question that these are stocks that are great covered call candidates, but you must avoid until the earnings report passes. Now, where you see an earnings report highlighted with red bold like you do for the first 4 stocks in this column, that means that that date has been confirmed on the Earnings Whispers website. Sometimes a company will project a date for release of the earnings report, but it might change a little bit. They might delay it or publish it a little sooner. These are the stocks that have the date confirmed on the Earnings Whispers site. Okay, if we move over to the industry segment, we don't want any one segment representing more than 20% of our portfolio, so this will actually name the industry segment that that particular equity is in. And to the right of that is the actual rank of the industry segment. So for the top 20%, it'll have a ranking of A, and for the bottom 20%, it'll have a ranking of E. It also shows segment rotation. For example, let's take a look at INTU, the second gold column from the bottom here, and you'll see a segment ranking of A/B. Now what that means is, in the current week, the ranking is A, or top 20%. Last week it was in B, which was the 20 to 40%. So it's showing a rotation for the institutional investors to be putting more money into that industry segment or the software segment, so that may show some positive momentum. The next column is the beta of the stock, which is based on the historical activity of that stock compared to the benchmark or the S&P 500. So if a stock has a beta ranking of 1.0, that means that we'd expect it to behave much the same as the S&P 500. If it has a higher ranking, we would expect it to outperform in bullish markets, and if it's ranked below 1, we would expect it to have outperform in bearish markets. The column to the right of that is the percent dividend yield, and where applicable, we will let you know the annual percentage dividend yield of a company that does generate dividends. If you see no figure in that column, that means that there's no dividend generated from that particular company. Okay, there's a red arrow to the left, and that shows a number in parentheses adjacent to the ticker symbol of the stocks on the running list, and that will tell you how many consecutive weeks that equity has been on our running list. And of course, the higher the number, it's showing greater strength because it's showing a lot of positive momentum, having passed our screens for so many weeks in a row. Below that, you will see highlighted in green 2 ticker symbols that are in bold, and what that means is that week those particular equities passed all the screens. No mixed data, no earnings report. And finally, to the right of that, you'll see a green arrow pointing to the broken black lines. And what we do is we break up or we sort our stocks by option month. So between each broken black line, those are the stocks that report in that particular contract month. And once again, the ones that we highlight in gold represent the ones that are reporting in the current month. Below that, you will see several screens. The pink cells are the stocks that passed the previous week but failed in the current week. So we keep those on for 3 weeks. If they fail, we'll give them a chance to bounce back. But when you see them in the pink cells, that means that they did fail in the current week. So if you're going to select a stock at that point in time, you're going to want to select one of the stocks from the white cells above. However, if you already own that stock, doesn't mean you have to get rid of it right away. It just means that it popped below a very strong requirements, and so we want to keep an eye on it. And once again, we've circled in green the stocks you see bolded in red. That means those earnings report dates have been confirmed by earningswhispers.com. And circled in red on the right, you'll see certain commentary we make. For example, for the stock ARCO, we have circled in red there, the chart is less than 1 year. So that means it didn't become an initial public offering to within the last year. So some people want to see a stock public more than a year before they would purchase it. And of course, we'll provide the information and you can make the decision. And finally, on the bottom, you'll see a green arrow that says stocks removed from running list this week. If a stock fails one or more screens for 3 consecutive weeks, we then remove it from the running list. It won't even appear after that in the pink cells unless it makes its way back onto the running list by passing all our screens. So we list for you the stocks that are being removed that week, and once again the reason is it's the 3rd week in a row that those stocks did not meet our system criteria. So I think you could see that there is an incredible amount of information found in our enhanced premium stock report. My team works very, very hard to get that information to you as quickly as possible. Once market closes on Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, they start working on it, and it's published usually on Saturday or Sunday of that weekend, but definitely before the market opens on Monday. We get it to you as early as we possibly can. As always, feel free to contact me for additional information at Alan@thebluecollarinvestor.com. Thanks for watching. Take care, everybody.